The city of Moore is poised to become one of the first in the nation to approve new building codes to make homes better able to withstand the impact of tornadoes up to the EF3 range. Because of the work of a University of Oklahoma structural engineering professor, it is apparent new building codes are also needed for larger structures, especially schools. The following report was prepared in conjunction with the Journal-Record newspaper.
The day after the May 20th tornado hit Moore, members of a special team of structural engineers with the National Science Foundation were on site to examine the damage to homes and other structures. One of the engineers on that NSF team was Dr. Chris Ramsayer from the University of Oklahoma.
As structural engineers, we're looking for telltale signs of failure, of what initiated the failure.
Dr. Ramsayer says he and other members of the NSF team discussed heading straight for Plaza Towers Elementary School, where 7 children died.
The earlier team, NSF team, we had asked the same question, and I told the team that it would be inappropriate. Oklahomans tend to memorialize our tragedies, and I didn't think it would be sensitive to the families.
Instead, Dr. Ramsayer focused on Briarwood Elementary and soon realized the damage had unveiled major flaws in the way the school was built in the 1980s. Problems like this at the corner of what was the school's office.
This connection has these little teeny stubs that are supposed to be down inside of a concrete beam. These are anchorage for a rafter. In general, today we would have a headed stud here. There'd be a head on it so it couldn't pull out.
Following along the wall, more problems surfaced.
This is a bond beam, right? It's a trough block. It's a U-shape. There's concrete in it. In general, you'd put 2 number 4 rebar in it to create a beam across the top of a masonry wall system. Do you see any rebar?
Dr. Ramsayer explains how the trough block system works.
Mason sets it. He takes his hammer and taps the side and knocks that little piece out, and that creates the trough. So you have the 2 faces, and then the center is this trough that you're pouring the concrete and the rebar in. Didn't even open the trough up. And there's no rebar.
In several locations on the building, Dr. Ramsayer found places where the construction flaws included the I-beams.
And you look at the beam, and the trough blocks are on there, and they're properly connected to this beam. The beam's fallen over. So we take a little closer look. The trough block has no rebar. What's more interesting, as you look at this other end, there's no bolts or system to attach it to where it was resting.
And that was one of several I-beams with similar construction flaws that Dr. Ramsayer found at Briarwood Elementary.
This is a carrying beam over a hallway, and we're going to take a look at this far end of it. There is no attachment detail. There's no attachment to the wall system other than gravity, just like the other beam.
Ramsayer was also part of a larger team of engineers from the American Society of Civil Engineers Structural Engineering Institute. But by the time that team was assembled, it was too late to examine Plaza Towers Elementary.
One of the first things we asked ourselves is, should we visit Plaza Towers? By the time this team assembled, day 10, Plaza Towers was already leveled.
Since the site had been cleaned up, determining which components of Plaza Towers failed could not be determined. 2 days after the May 20th tornado, ONR talked to Plaza Towers first grade teacher Terry Veach, and she provided insight into what came down on top of the children in the school.
We were all in the hallways when the sirens went off, and as soon as the walls started to come in and the beams started to fall and the sheetrock and the ceiling tiles started to fall, we just started piling babies as quick as we could in the bathroom and laid on top of them.
One of the children who died at Plaza Towers was 9-year-old Christopher Legg. Christopher and the other children were inside the school's 3rd grade center, which was added to the Plaza Towers complex in 2005. Christopher's father, Ross Legg, was allowed inside the 3rd grade center, along with other parents, 5 days after the storm hit. By then, the cleanup of the area had already begun.
The ceiling came off, the roof and the ceiling came off, and the walls were just kind of freestanding. The ceiling wasn't there to tie anything or anything across the top. The walls were caught in the wind.
The Legg family says cleaning up the school, especially the area where the children died, before the team of structural engineers could get there to examine what happened, was a mistake.
It may have been a knee-jerk reaction of whatever their motivation was, but I don't think it was the best decision to make.
It was widely reported that a wall collapsing on the children is what caused the death and injuries. Ross Legg says something else struck his son.
Examining and holding him, I saw that it was a piece of purlin or red iron. It was a metal beam. So it was a ceiling beam, piece of red iron that came down.
And Professor Ramsayer says pictures taken by the Legg family and others at Plaza Towers show construction problems similar to what he found at Briarwood. Problems he believes increase the amount of damage caused by the tornado. Bob Zoll is co-owner of ZFI Engineering, which has designed numerous major structures in Oklahoma. He reviewed Dr. Ramsayer's findings and concurred there were major problems with construction at Briarwood.
The code didn't require vertical reinforcing. It did require the horizontal reinforcing in the trough blocks at 4 feet on center. But the other thing that wasn't a requirement back then was special inspections of masonry construction, which is a requirement in the code now.
Zoll says special inspections cover several major components of a construction project, including the things that Professor Ramsayer found wrong with Briarwood.
Attachments of steel framing would be another one of those areas where special inspections are required.
The kind of construction found at Briarwood Elementary is not that unusual.
Oh, I think there's an absolutely 100% chance that there's other buildings like that. It would be unacceptable if somebody saw it and let it happen. That would be unacceptable.
Zoll is a member of the Oklahoma State Board of Licensure for Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors. Every 2 months, the board meets for 2 days to hear complaints and allegations against engineers and land surveyors. In 1996, Zoll testified in one of those hearings against the architectural and engineering firm RGDC, Inc. 3 of the company's principals were found guilty of several professional misconduct charges, including practicing engineering outside their area of expertise, and for one of the principals, practicing engineering without an engineering license. RGDC was the A&E team on Briarwood Elementary. Documents on construction at Plaza Towers are still unavailable despite open records requests by the Journal-Record and the Legg family. Glenn Lewis is the mayor of Moore. He expects the city council will soon approve recommendations from Professor Ramsayer that would make major changes to the city's building code to enable new homes to better withstand tornadic winds.
Our new motto has been we're going to build it bigger, better, and stronger, and I think this is an opportunity for us to do it.
And the mayor says the kind of improvements to home building should also be extended to schools.
I think lessons have been learned. You know, you don't build a school system like you did in 1960 with cinder block, unreinforced walls. We don't allow that to be built. So I think we're getting there. It's just taking time, and unfortunately it's taken lives and, terrible situations to get there.
Mayor Lewis believes more city government is doing what it can already to ensure new school buildings are better built.
We're working with the schools to build a much better school system that'll be safe. And, when you send your kids to school, you have an expectation that they will be safe there, whether it's from a shooter or from a tornado. So we're working with them on both of those items.
For the Legg family and others whose children died or were injured in Plaza Towers, there is another big question that remains unanswered. How many other schools are out there that were built like Briarwood and perhaps Plaza Towers?
I need to know that answer. My children still go to school in Moore.
Mayor Lewis says City Hall wants that answer too.
We have talked about this at City Hall. This may be a new policy. We adopt this going with a structural engineer with the school system and say, hey, we're gonna do some testing here and see how these hold up, see what we need to do. Look at it, and we may have to pass some bond issues to get that done.
According to Professor Ramsayer, the statistics make clear in Moore and anywhere else in Oklahoma where there are questions about how well built the school buildings are, there should be a sense of urgency. Storm season is approaching, and more EF4 and EF5 storms are possible.
Is the state of Oklahoma will have an EF3, 4, or 5 every 2 years, statistically. So these are not rare events anymore.
ONR requested an interview with Moore School officials who have seen Dr. Ramsayer's findings, but they declined. The final report of the team of engineers from the American Society of Civil Engineers is due out in about a month. Meanwhile, an effort is beginning in the legislature to require school building inspections by structural engineers statewide.